So here we have the box set context for Kill Team Salvation. Now, this box set's going to contain two 10-model kill teams, one for the Space Marine Primaris Scouts, they're just called Space Marine Scouts though, and they're a new kill team, and one for the Blades of Khaine, which is the Eldari Aspect Warrior kill team. And you're going to get some stuff you haven't gotten in these box sets before. You're going to get a bespoke token set for each of the two factions, which include command point tokens, faction tokens, gear tokens for all the optional equipment that you can give them, and status tokens, as well as ability tokens for certain abilities that each team has. For instance, the Aspect Warriors have their stances and special skills, and the Scouts have their ability to lay traps before the game starts and take additional actions. Get 5 pieces of rig apparatus terrain for playing in the Beta Decima Killzone, the rulebook, and then most importantly, in my opinion, you get reference cards for all the data sheets. Oh my gosh, is it handy to be able to not flip through your book during a game and have all that stuff at hand. Even more handy though, each of the two factions gets a sleeve of cards with their tac ops, their strategic ploys, tactical ploys, faction abilities, and equipment to quickly reference it over the course of a game as well. And man, are these ever handy. These are probably the most useful things I've gotten in a Kill Team box set before. So, the Kill Team of Space Marines is the one I painted up. I painted up some Ultramarines. So splitting the box set with Mike, I painted up some Ultramarines for my kill team. And because Mike already had his hands and had painted up a kill team for Dire Avengers and Howling Banshees, he was just going to paint up 5 of the Striking Scorpion Warriors, but ended up making 6 because with an extra pair of Guardian legs, you can actually make 6 bodies off of each of the 2 sets of frames. So I kept one of my frames, which means I'll be able to do some Eldari kill team later on, and then gave him the rest so we could play through a couple missions, the first of which you'll see Wednesday next week. Now I was able to make all the options out of the box. You have a 9-model kill team when you play as the Space Marine. And so I made myself a sergeant. I have a hunter who's got his little grapple bat launcher here. I have a tracker with his auspex. I have both heavies, a missile launcher and a heavy bolter, and I have a sniper. And I still had the models to make 4 kill team warriors. I made 1 with a shotgun, 1 with a bolter, and 2 with close combat weapons. So lots of versatility on my roster and the ability to take lots of different configurations if I want in my team by swapping that single model out. Now, Mike did a lovely job painting the Eldar, as you can see, but I figured I'd also show you the frame, as you have a 3 frame per 5 models kit here. You can see it's snapped here and here in these 2 sections. And it gives you the ability to make either 5 normal Striking Scorpions or 4 and an Exarch. But as you have an additional torso on here, what Mike did was he used a set of just extra Guardian legs that he had lying around to make an extra model. You also get your little faction terrain piece, which is kind of cool. And this one's an actual Striking Scorpion. I think this started with the Dire Avengers. You got like a little Dire Avengers as like Azure miniature. This one you're getting like a Karandris sort of miniature. It's a big Striking Scorpion Phoenix Lord statue, and you can use that to show like when you can test objective markers and stuff. So it was very cool to have. Mike based his up, and he's also got the one based from the Howling Banshees, so you can use it to show when he is or isn't controlling stuff. I also painted up the 5 pieces of rig apparatus for us to play our games this week, and you can check out how I did that in the review for the Beta Decima box set, which is all the terrain, because I use the same double rattle can method that I use for quickly painting up 40K terrain, which is an old trick I learned from John Schaefer. For those of you who know, you know. This is how he painted lots of game state terrain. So these turned out great. They're just sort of like rusting old pieces of Mechanicum technology that are sitting on the rigs. And you get these, they are the essential cover and very often the objective markers on the table when you're playing through the Salvation Killzone. So it's good to get them painted up. All right, so let's have a look at the book, Kill Team Salvation. So what do we have here? Well, it's the latest in a series of 100-ish pages, full color expansions for Kill Team 2021. 2021? 2021, yes, 2021. And features 2 new teams. As I said, we've got the Space Marine Scout Squad and the Blades of Khaine. Now you get your pretty much standard fare in here, and you're gonna get to watch a battle report with these 2 teams coming up on Wednesday. So I'm not gonna spend a ton of time going through all of the major changes, but I'm gonna give an overview of each faction. So like I said, very cool new models for the Blades of Khaine, and also for the Primaris. You get your usual names and like details stuff. And then we get onto the kill teams themselves. So 2 new army lists. First, you get the Scout Squad kill team. You get a sergeant and 8 operatives. So you get basically 1 model in the box. You're going to swap in and out. Sarge can have some pretty standard stuff: shotgun, bolt pistol, or chainsword. And then the Scout Squads, you can have 1 of each thing that isn't a warrior. You can have more than 1 warrior. That does mean you can take a Scout Heavy Gunner with a Heavy Bolter and a Scout Heavy Gunner with a Missile Launcher, I believe, because it says other than warrior operatives, your kill team can only include each operative above once, but they're all different. So the Heavy Gunner, even though he's got 2 different weapon options, it doesn't say or, they're listed as 2 separate profiles. So my understanding is that you get to take each of those operatives once. Then you get a hunter, sniper, tracker, and like I said, the warriors who have the options of shotguns, bolt guns, or bolt pistols and combat blades. So pretty cool. You get all your cool, fun stuff, and you get to swap as needed one of the cooler types of warrior models. All right, TAC Ops. We have 3 faction TAC Ops in here. And like I said, having these on cards makes them so much easier to use. Well, sorry, these would have always kind of been on cards if you just use the deck with the blank one that says Faction TAC Op, but having them printed out on the cards, very nice. So there's 3 sudden strike. If more enemy operatives than friendly were killed during your turning point, you score a VP, and if you do it in a subsequent turning point, you score a VP. And if an operative with a wounds count of 12 or more is killed, it counts as 2 operatives for this OP. So a kind of cool, because they don't have access to Seek and Destroy, they only have access to Infiltration and Recon. It's a Seek and Destroy-like card, which kind of favors their aggressive fighting. And you get from all angles. Basically, if an operative from your Scout Squad does damage in 3 out of 4 quarters of the table during a turn, doesn't have to kill somebody, just do damage, you get a VP. And if you do it again during a subsequent turning point, you get a VP. And then finally, Gather Reconnaissance. You can do this if you perform the Gather Reconnaissance action while you're within red of the enemy's drop zone and not engaged. And then if you survive until the end of the game, you get another one. It's a pretty cool one. You just have to run out and do the action. And because you have the ability to get some 3 APL models potentially with the Sarge, you can set that up actually usually nicely to dip in, dip back, and then just run and hide for the rest of the game. And then you have your ability. So this is your overall ability for your squad. You get to pick 5 of these things. Now they're capped sometimes. You have in brackets the cap number of how many times you can do them, but you get to do these after deployment before the scouting phase, which is cool because you get to do all of these things. You can do them more than once potentially. Redeploy, which is up to 5 times. You can just move somebody around inside your drop zone. Recon up to twice. You can resolve a recon option as specified in the scouting step. So you get to make a dash action. You can do this up to twice, but you do it before the scouting step. There's also a ability you can get in Spec Ops campaigns to do each of these an additional time. So it's the comms beacon, it's really useful. Taking 3 dashes before the game starts and then another one as your scouting option can be very handy. Infiltrate, resolve an infiltrate option. Triple arm, it's basically, you can do this twice. They're little tokens. If a model ends within 2 inches of them, so a white, then you remove the token and they count as having an engage order regardless of what kind of order they have until the end of the turn. They basically do the snake thing where they go dun 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 and they trip the alarm. Then you get a booby trap. It's much the same thing. It's a token you place down in the kill zone outside of red of the opponent's drop zone. Same with the triple arm. But it is a bomb, and if you end a move within 2 of it, you roll a die. You get +1 if at any point during your activation you perform a dash or a charge. And then on a 1 to 3 nothing happens, and a 4+ take that many mortal wounds as it goes off. So you could take 7 mortal wounds with the +1 if you dash too close to it. Then a diversion, which is just, you can do this one once. You can do the booby pack once as well. It's just -1 from somebody's APL. Devise a plan, gain a CP, which is super handy, and I would almost always do. And then finally, designate target for 1. You select an enemy operative to gain the target token. Each time a friendly Scout Squad operative fights in combat or makes a shooting attack against the enemy operative with your target token, in the roll attack dice step, you can reroll an attack dice. Basically, everybody gets balanced against 1 model in the opposing kill team. All right, and then we got our strategic ploys. We get Guerrilla Engagement. Until the end of the turning point, each time a shooting attack is made against a friendly Scout Squad operative that's in cover and more than right away, you can reroll 1 of your defense dice. Gunfire Ambush and Blade Ambush, these are the same thing. Basically, if you emerge from concealed into engage and make one of those 2 types of attacks over the course of the turn, you can reroll any 1 type of dice. So you can reroll all your 2s or all your 3s or all your 1s if you miss. And then Stealth Relocation, select a friendly Scout Squad operative more than red from the enemy and perform a dash and or change its order, but you can't do it during the first turning point. So free CP dashing can be super handy. And then your tactical deploys, you have a Astartes training. which is basically be whatever type of intercessor you want to be that turn. Either take 2 fight or 2 shoot actions. Raw physiology, you're not injured, and you can ignore APL mods. Emboldened aspirant. Use tactical play after rolling dice in the roll attack dice step of a fight or shoot action. If it's the first friendly operative to do either of those things during the turning point. Or if the target has more wounds remaining than the scout operative. You can retain 1 successful hit as a crit instead. And then covert position, uses tactical blade during a friendly scout squad operative's activation. Until the start of the next activation, while the operative is a conceal order, it's always treated as having conceal, regardless of vantage or other rules. So you go super hidey. And then we got our models. Now, again, these guys are pretty bog standard from the ones that were available in the Kill Team annual? Was it the annual or the compendium? Whatever the big book of Space Marines was called. And this kind of finishes the Space Marine kill teams. We have an Intercessor kill team, we have a Phobos kill team, and now we have the Scout kill team. This is kind of all the kill teams for the Marines done. Your Sarge can have, again, this is all just usual Marine stuff. So shotguns, bolt pistols, bolt guns, chainswords, and fists. They operate the way they always have. He's got 11 wounds and a 4+ save, and he's the only model here with 3 APL. Everybody else has only got 2. They're not quite Space Marines yet. But he has an ability called Guidance and Experience. Each time this operative is activated, select a friendly visible Scout Squad operative and add 1 to its APL. So you get to +1 APL somebody else, and it means that you can set up someone to go first next turn, or you can set them up early in the turn to then go later on in the turn with a plus APL. There's, again, a Battle Honor you can take that allows you to do that without needing line of sight, too. Gunners, they get 10 wounds, 4+ save. They're the standard warrior profile, 2 APL, and they can have a heavy bolter or a missile launcher. These are the same as the ones in all the other kill teams. So heavy bolter's got, fusillade and heavy with piercing 1, 5 shots, 3+, 4s and 5s, and then the missile launcher's got frag and crack. Crack being 4 attacks on 3s, 5/7 AP1, and then 4 attacks, 3+, 3/5 with blast and heavy if you're doing the blast version. And again, because it's a separate profile line, not a gunner profile with 2 options, my understanding is you can take both of these in your kill team. I think your hunter, this guy is absolutely super dangerous. Again, same core profile as everybody else. He's got a bolt pistol and a combat blade, which is a 4 attacks, 3+, 3/5 damage. He comes with the grapnel launcher equipment upgrade for free, so he's already got one. And then he has grapnel assault for 1 AP. Perform a free charge action with this operative. If during this action, this operative climbs, drops, jumps, traverses, or its base moves is under a vantage point, its melee weapons gain lethal 3+ until the end of the activation. That means all your hits are crits, which is bonkers. Yeah, he can just all of a sudden just do 20 damage to somebody with his knife. And you can also buy him a balanced weapon by giving him an additional combat blade as an equipment point as well. Then we've got Scout Sniper. He's got the usual heavy silent sniper rifle with mortal wound 3 and 2+, 3/3 damage. He's got a camo cloak. If he's in cover, he gets to retain an additional die, so you can retain 2 dice as successes. And an advanced scope, so for an AP, he can ignore obscurement. He cannot perform this action if he's in engagement range, but he can just shoot somebody. They're just not obscured. He just looks through walls. He has the eraser gun. And then Scout Tracker, this guy's got his Dirty LaForge visor so he can see stuff. Bolt gun and fists. He's got track enemy for an AP. If you're within red of an enemy operative, then select a friendly Scout Squad operative. Until the end of the turning point, that guy treats that enemy as having an engage order. But you can't do this while you're engaged. So you can call out guys behind walls, basically, and make them not concealed anymore. And then he's got Auspex scan for an AP. Select 1 enemy operative visible to or with red and over this operative. So it can just be in line of sight, which means they can be concealed, but you're visible then. Until the end of the turning point, that enemy is not obscured. Defense dice cannot be automatically retained as a result of the cover for that enemy operative. The operative cannot perform this action while within engagement range. So yeah, you can scan somebody out as well, which is very cool. You just call them out too. And then you get your warriors. They've got their shotguns, bolt pistols. Now the strike shotgun is real good now. 2+, 4/4 damage. It just shreds with 4 shots. And then bolt pistols, combat blades, and fists. I found the shotgun guys really handy to give the grapnel launchers to, or the climbing gear, which treats it. It's the same as a grapnel launcher, basically. No matter for the first climb action you do each turn, if you're going up to a maximum of 3, it only counts as 1 white. So 6-inch climb only counts as a 2-inch climb for these guys, and they can start a climb from on a physical terrain feature. They don't have to be within 1 to start the climb. So they can start the climb basically like within movement, provided they can move, dash, and finish their movement on it. It makes them really fast because they basically have bat launchers. You can get up on something up to 6 inches high, and then you can move horizontally 7 inches. Because if you have a 6-inch move with a 3-inch dash, and you're -2 movement for that climb maximum, as long as it's under 6 inches tall, you're just rushing towards it. And with the new FAQ, you round down climbing distances instead of rounding them up as well, which means you can actually get a little over 6 inches of height climbing on it too. So anyway, they're very zippy fast, and it's 1 equipment point to equip 1. Camo cloaks, they give you the camo cloak group, so it's the same as the sniper guy. Extra blade, it gives you the balanced rule. Heavy weapon bipod, if you don't move, you get that Guerrilla gunfire thing where you basically can reroll any of 1 type of dice. Targeting ocular, nobody gets cover, your weapons get no cover. A smoke grenade for 3 EP, it's basically a 2-inch circle that ignores, you're obscured if you're looking through it, it's a smoke grenade. And then frag and crack grenades as normal. Like I said, some cool battle honors. You can be distinguished, so you can get the, once for battle during this operative's activation, you can use the Astartes Trained Tactical Ploy without spending a command point. Basically, you can be the Space Marine you want to be for a turn. You can get added to your move. Well-versed, you don't have to have line of fire for the Sergeant. Assassin, you can charge while you're in conceal. Mobile, you can fall back for 1 AP. And then Raider, you can perform a charge action even if you're engaged. Rare equipment, you get cool things like just cooler cloaks, cooler eyepieces, explosive warhead for your gunners. And then your assets, you get the Cogitator Banks, which allows you to use both infiltration and recon mixed as opposed to picking one for your archetypes. You can have a communication beacon, which means that you can select one of your forward scouting options more than once. Like I said, you could dig 2 bombs or you could do an additional dash. And then scout vehicles, at the end of the setup operative step, you can resolve an additional forward scouting option. This does not affect the maximum number of times you can resolve that thing. So you can do 6 instead of 5. So if you end up getting all 3 of these, you can have a very mixed deck of objectives. You can do 6 scouting options, and you can do an additional 1 from their usual cap. So requisition's kind of cool. Impart knowledge is nice. Your leftover experience you didn't level with, you can actually pass it to the squad from your sergeant. So it allows your scout operatives to level up a bit faster if they're not doing a lot. You can learn from failure. You can purchase this requisition in a game after which you were incapacitated, but a friendly sergeant was not. The first friendly operative gains 1 XP. If it didn't inflict damage on any enemy operatives, it gets an additional, and if you lost, it gains an additional. So you can hand out 3 XP for a requisition to somebody who got knocked out because you failed. And then worthy of the chapter. This is interesting. It's not actually very good for this kill team, but if you were running a Phobos or Intercessor kill team as well, and you're playing in a Spec Ops campaign, for 1 RP, you can take one of your scouts and add them as a member to that kill team, and they round down to the nearest experience level and start with that experience. So basically, you can take a scout operative that's at battle level 3, it's got 3 battle honors, and then it becomes let's say, a infiltrator, and that infiltrator can get 3 battle honors immediately because he gets promoted to being a Marine. So it's cool, it's very narratively interesting, but it's not necessarily it's not great for your kill team because your kill team isn't necessarily getting a whole bunch out of this. And then you got different spec ops you can do. Covert engagement means doing your own archetypes. And then in this one, you have to play at least 6 games and score victory points from every tac op of an archetype of your choosing. So if you do all the infiltrate ones or all of the recon ones, you'd get the In the Wake of Heroes. So that's the scouts. Let's talk about the Blades of Khaine. Now, you get way more options for the Blades of Khaine than you actually get in this box set because you have access to not just Striking Scorpions, but also Howling Banshees, Dire Avengers as aspect warriors. You get 1 Exarch, and then that Exarch can have whatever their Exarch weapons are, basically. So a Dire Avenger one can have a twin Shuriken Catapult or a twin Shuriken Catapult and gun butts, a single Shuriken Catapult, a Dire Sword or power weapon, a Shimmer Shield or Shuriken Pistol. The Banshee Exarch can have Mirror Swords, a Shuriken Pistol, and power weapon, a Shuriken Pistol and Executioner, a Treskel and power weapon, or Treskel and Shuriken Pistol. And then the Exarch for the Striking Scorpions can have a Pistol and Biting Blade, a Scorpion's Claw and Chainsword with Shuriken Pistol, and a twin Shuriken Pistol and twin Chainswords option. And then you get 7 Blades of Khaine. So either Dire Avengers, Howling Banshees, or Striking Scorpions. There's no specialists in here, but you get a super mixed team. So it almost is an army of specialists because you have shooters, fighters, and shock troops all sort of mixed together. And then your archetype is based on how many of a single type of aspect warrior you have. So if you're playing Dire Avengers, it's security. If you're playing Howling Banshees, it's recon. If you're playing Striking Scorpions, it's infiltration. And then your attack ops, you have Aspect Warfare. If a friendly Dire Avenger, Howling Banshee, or Striking Scorpion operative inflicts damage on an enemy operative during the same turning point, get a VP. So if one of each of those guys fights, which means you're playing a mixed team, and if you achieve the first condition, any subsequent turning point. So basically you have to do damage with all 3 every turn to score a VP. Master of Techniques, if you used all 5 aspect techniques from an aspect in a turning point. So like, for instance, if you had 5 Striking Scorpion Warriors and they all did a different aspect, then you'd get up a VP. And if you get that first condition, any subsequent turning point, get a VP. And then finally, Martial Harmony. It is reveal this attack up in the attack up reveal step. At the end of each turning point, check the following criteria. A friendly Dire Avenger operative controls an objective. A friendly Striking Scorpion operative is within 6 of the enemy. A friendly Howling Banshee operative is within 6 of your opponent's drop zone. At the end of the turn, if at least 2 of these 3 are true, score a VP. And if you achieve the first condition at the end of any subsequent turning point, score a VP. So not super handy playing right out of the box, because 2 of these 3 attack ops require you to have a mixed team. And you don't have a mixed team in the box, which is why I gave half the box to Mike and he brought and painted the rest of the team so we could try out like the full gamut of stuff. But basically, you're never going to play all 3 of those typically. What you're going to do is you're going to take 2 of those 3 and then mix in Seek and Destroy. If you've got, I think Seek and Destroy is always an option? No. Yeah, you can always use Seek and Destroy, and then if you have a majority, Dire Avengers, it's Security, Howling Banshee, it's Recon, and Striking Scorpions, it's Infiltration. All right, strategic ploys. So you have Eminent Grace. Add +1 to the move characteristic of your Blades of Khaine. Friendly Blades of Khaine operatives can move around, across, and over friendly operatives as if they were not there. And then Forewarned. Until the end of the turning point, each time a shooting attack is made against a ready friendly Blades of Khaine operative, you can reroll the defense dice, like a single one. Ruthless Poise. Until the end of the turning point, each time an active friendly Blades of Khaine operative fights in close combat. In the roll attack dice step of the combat, you can reroll one of your attack dice. And then Khaine's Vengeance. Until the end of the turning point, each time a friendly Blades of Khaine operative makes a shooting attack against the enemy operative that isn't ready, in the roll attack dice step, you can reroll one of your attack dice. So, all fighty, and then some speedy options too, basically to get you into combat. Your tacticals, you got Blade Wind. Use this tactical ploy during a friendly Blades of Khaine operative's activation. Until the end of the activation, that operative can perform 2 fight actions, Starfall, 2 shoot actions. Fading Light, you can fall back for 1 less AP. And then Contempt. Use tactical ploy in the roll attack dice step of either a combat in which a friendly Blades of Khaine operative is not the active operative, or a shooting attack made against a friendly Blades of Khaine operative. For that combat or shooting attack, your opponent cannot reroll their attack dice. So basically you get no, you have to do it before the initial roll. Note that you use this tactical ploy after seeing the results of your opponent's initial roll, but before rerolls are made. And then your ability is Aspect Techniques. So Aspect Techniques are unique abilities you will find for all the different Blades of Khaine operatives. You cannot use more than 1 technique per activation. You cannot use each technique more than once per turning point. And if every friendly Blades of Khaine operative selected for deployment is the same aspect, you cannot use each technique more than twice. So you can use them twice if you're all Striking Scorpions. Again, there's a that's why I think this is the more interesting kill team, because you could play all Banshees or all Dire Avengers or all Striking Scorpions and have it be completely different versus playing a mixed team, which you can also do, and then lean into them in different amounts. All right, so we've got our Exarchs and Warriors for each of these, and then they have 5 different aspect techniques they can do. Once they've done one, you put an aspect token that come in the box next to them to know they've done one this turning point, because they can only do 1 per activation. So your Exarch, man, lots of weapons. The Catapult's basically a bolter with rending, so if it crits, another hit turns into a crit. Hits on 2s, 3-4 damage. Pistol's the same thing, but it's got range 6. And then the twin one becomes relentless, so it gets to shoot, and reroll misses, but it only hits on 3s instead of 2s. Dire Sword, it's a power sword, 5 attacks, 2+, 4-5 damage. And then Fists, he's got 2+, 3-4 damage. Gun Butts, 3 attacks on 3s, 2-3 damage. And a power weapon, it's lethal 5+, 4-6 damage. I do like that the Dire Sword has rending though, which means when it crits on 5s, you just get more crits. So lower top end damage, but you know, more crit defense. You don't ever worsen, you have Overwatch or defense tactics on both the Warriors and the Exarchs. You don't reduce your Blitzkill when you Overwatch, which is cool. And then if you have a Shimmer Shield, if this opponent is equipped with a Shimmer Shield, while a friendly Blades of Khaine operative is within white of this operative, so 2 inches, it gets a 4+ invul, and he can always perform 2 shooter fight actions during their activation. All the Exarchs can do this. And the Warrior, same thing. It's same core stats except 1 less wound, so he's got 8 wounds instead of 9, but you'll notice that all of these guys, it used to just be the Exarchs, all of these guys now have 3 APL. Yeah, the entire team is basically reversing the game on the Space Marines, and they've got the 3 APL instead of the Marines. And then their abilities, I get Slicing Hurricane. Basically, you can shoot during a move. Death by 1,000 blades. If 2 models are standing within 2 inches of each other, you can perform 2 shed actions, 1 against each. Vigilance of the Avenger. Use this aspect technique when a friendly Dire Avenger operative performs the shoot action. Until the end of that shoot action, the operative's Shuriken Catapult, Shuriken Pistol, or Twin Shuriken Catapult gains the no cover special rule, and that operative must make a shooting attack with it against an enemy operative in cover. So you're shooting someone in cover. Unstinting and immovable. Use this aspect technique in the roll defense dice step with a shooting attack made against a friendly Dire Avenger operative. If you're trained any critical saves and discard one or more failed saves, select one of your failed saves to become a normal save. And then Raging Heat of the Dying Flame. Use this aspect technique when a friendly Dire Avenger operative that's injured or has its APL characteristic negatively modified. Until the start of an operative's next activation, ignore these modifiers, and that operative cannot be injured. And then we're on to Banshees. So first up, we got that Howling Banshee Exarch. Again, armed with all the possible weapon configurations. So on top of your Shuriken Pistol, you can have the Triskel. It's a 4 attack, 3+, 2, 3, but has Torrent when you're shooting it and Rending. But it's only got a 6-inch range because she throws like the Xena star thing. And then if it's used in melee, it's 6 attacks at 2+, 3, 4 with Reap 2 and Rending, which is kind of neat. So she has a Reap attack. So low damage, but like if you're fighting hordes, like a high potential for killing more than one model during a turn. Then power weapons, standard fare, 4/6, lethal 5+, hit on 2s. Mirror swords have Relentless with lethal 5+, and just like the exact same damage. So yeah, pretty great with the rerolls. And then Executioner for that heavy hitting, 5 attacks, 2+, 3/7 damage with lethal 5+. So lower bottom end damage, but much higher spikes. And then the Banshee Mask is if you are performing a fight action, the weapon skill of the target operative's weapons is reduced by 1 because you scream at them. And it's only when you perform the fight action. So this operative can perform 2 shoot and fight actions just like the other Exarchs. It has the same Exarch profile, so 3+ save versus 4+ from the rest of the Aspect Warriors, and 9 wounds. Much like their friends, the Striking Scorpions, the Howling Banshees, or the Dire Avengers, the Howling Banshees also got 3 APL. But 1 less wound, of course, than their Exarch friends, and 1 worse save because they're not wearing the Exarch armor. Shuriken pistols and power weapons make them pretty dangerous in melee with that lethal 5+ and 4 attacks. And the Banshee Mask is the same as on the Exarch. So their aspect techniques, you get the Woe. Use this aspect technique during a friendly Howling Banshee operative's activation. After it's performed a charge action, incapacitate an enemy model in combat and no longer within engagement range of the enemy. Perform a free charge action using the remaining movement you had. So basically it keeps you stuck in melee so that you're not able to be shot afterwards. So if you charge a model, kill them, you don't suffer the outnumbering bonus, you can use that remaining charge movement to get into somebody else. This aspect technique allows them to perform 2 charge actions. But remember, this is not going to be, this is not going to give you a free attack. So this is particularly useful for the Howling Banshee Exarch, because that means you could charge, do your fight action, kill somebody, do another charge to get into somebody else, and then kill them too, because you can make 2 fight actions during a turn. So particularly useful for the Banshee Exarch, not as useful except for staying in melee for the actual warriors. Then you get Rain of Tears. Use this after the resolve successful hit step of a combat. After a friendly Howling Banshee operative strikes with a crit, immediately perform a free dash or fallback action with that operative up to blue, so 3 inches, as though it can fly. Do so even if that operative has performed an action during the activation that prevents them performing the dash or fallback, like a charge. So basically you can like charge in, crit somebody, do like 6 damage potentially with your power sword, and then before they can hit you back, just duck away with fly. So you can move through them even if you want to. It's a very interesting, like just like take a piece out of somebody and don't get hit back action. Then Acrobatic, use this aspect technique when a friendly Howling Banshee operative performs an action in which it moves. It counts as fly, but cannot move more than 3, so just normal movement rules. And then Scream That Steals, use this aspect technique at the start of the resolve successful hit step of a combat involving a friendly Howling Banshee operative. If you retain any successful hits, resolve 1 hit before the attacker, but it must be used to parry. So basically you can knock, if a guy hits you in melee, or attacks you in melee and gets a crit and like a couple hits, you can parry off the crit before they get to apply it and just take a hit instead. And you get to do it before they actually apply damage. So it's very useful against chargers. The Shriek that Kills, it's basically a gun. Use Aspect Technique when a Howling Banshee operative performs a shoot action. Until the end of the shooting attack, you can have attack 6, 3+, 1, 2 damage, range, indirect, no cover, torrent, with crit stun. So very cool that it's indirect with no cover and 6-inch range. You can just scream at somebody around you with torrent. And then we're into the Banshees. There's the Banshees, the XR, the Striking Scorpions. So again, same core stats on both, 3+ save for the Exarch, and an extra wound. And then you've got your regular sort of fare of like shuriken pistols, twin shuriken pistols getting relentless. Your biting blade, it's a cool chainsword, so 5 attacks, 2+, 5, 6 damage, so higher damage than a chainsword. And rending for that sweet critical hit. But having base 5 damage is bonkers. Then the twin chainswords, which are 5 attacks relentless, 2+, 4, 5 damage, and a scorpion's claw on a chainsword, which is 5 attacks, 2+, 4, 6, with brutal and lethal 5+. So only parried by crits, and then 5+ to gain your own crits for 6 damage. It's a very cool combo. Although the Biting Blade is also just bonkers for that base 5 damage. And then your Exarchs are two shooter fight actions during a turn. And then you have Manda Blasters. All the Scorpions have these. When you target someone with a fight action, you just give them 2 mortal wounds. Just take 2 off the top every time you do a fight action. That's amazing. Striking Scorpions have the same thing with a chainsword and a shuriken pistol. And then your Aspect Techniques, Patient Stalk, Sudden Blow. Use this Aspect Technique when a friendly Striking Scorpion operative with a conceal order performs the normal move action. During that action, the operative can and must move within engagement range. And then one enemy operative that it moved in engagement range with suffers D3 + 2 mortal wounds. So you can walk into melee from concealed and then fight, and you get a super Manda Blast, which is very, very cool. Also, it isn't your Manda Blast, so you're going to do D3 + 4 mortal wounds before that fight action starts during a walk. It is a horrifying ability. Then we have Strike and Fade. Use this Aspect Technique after a friendly Striking Scorpion operative with an engage order incapacitates an enemy operative in combat and is now more than blue from enemy operatives. Change that friendly operative's order to conceal, and you can immediately perform a free dash action with it. You can do so even if it performed an action during that activation that prevents it from performing a dash, like a charge. So you can just dash back. Then Scorpion's Eye. Use this Aspect Technique when a friendly Striking Scorpion performs the shoot action. Until the end of the shooting attack, the operative's twin shuriken pistol or shuriken pistol gains the indirect special rule and must target someone in cover. Then Merciless Strikes. Use this Aspect Technique at the start of a resolved successful hit step of a fight performed by a friendly Striking Scorpion if you retain any critical hits. Until the end of that combat, you have stun. And then finally, One with the Gloom. This is very cool. Use this Aspect Technique when a friendly Striking Scorpion operative moves within 1 of a light or heavy terrain feature. Until the start of that next activation, while it has a conceal order, it's always treating as having conceal regardless of any other rules like Vantage Point. So even like the scanner on the tracker won't take this away. You just always count as being concealed no matter what else happens. Then your equipment. You can have a weaponized panoply. So if you have fists or gun butts, you get +1 attack for a Dire Avenger. Rune of the Prophecy. Once per battle, after rolling to determine the initiative, add or subtract 1 from the result. You can only take this once. The Rune of Foresight. When you reveal this equipment, select one of your opponent's strategic or tactical ploys. The first time they use it, gain a CP, because you look into the future. So just pick reroll, because they're going to use it eventually. Rune of Shielding. Oh, sorry, excluding command reroll. Never mind. So pick the Astartes training on the Scouts, for instance, one that they would always use in the game. Rune of Shielding, it's for 3 equipment points this time. Once per battle, if this operative fights in combat or a shooting attack is made against it, in the resolved successful hit step of that combat, you can ignore the damage inflicted from 1 attack die. And the Wraithbone Talisman for 3. Once per battle, when the operative fights in combat, makes a shooting attack or a shooting attack is made against it, you can use command reroll without spending any command points. It's a 3 command point, or a free command point. Shadow Wave Grenade is basically a smoke grenade. You're obscured if a cover line goes through it. And then a Plasma Grenade. It's kind of like a frag grenade. It's indirect. Limited blast white, so 2 inches, range 6, so red, and then 4 attacks, 3+, 3, 4 damage. So for Spec Ops, you get some neat little abilities like Blade Dancer. You can use the Blade Wind Tactical Ploy that's spending any command points. Gunslinger, you can use the Starfall Tactical Ploy, so you can use the shoot twice, fight twice without spending command points. Fate's Whisper, once per battle, sort of the roll defense dice step of a shooting attack. Made against the operative, you can use this ability. If you do so before rolling your defense dice, you can retain 1 successful save without rolling it. And then Feather Glide, +1 move. Supreme Grace, ignore all modifiers to your move. Each time an operative is activated, ignore the first circle, so it's going to be first 2 inches. It's traveling for a climb, drop, traverse during this activation. It's kind of like having climbing gear all the time. And then finally, Superlative Technique. Each time this operative fights in combat, in the resolve successful hit step of the combat, if you did not retain any critical hits, you can strike or parry with 1 normal hit as if it was critical. Rare stuff's going to upgrade your basic gear, right? So like Khaine's Arrow, it's per Shuriken Catapult. The Death Gaze of Morag Heg for your Banshee masks. The Sting of the Deathstalker does 3 instead of 2 mortal wounds for your Striking Scorpions. Healing Waters. After the battle in the update data slates, this operative passes a casualty recovery test. And then your different strategic assets you can buy for your base. You can get a Shrine Statuary. It's just like a plant, kind of like a house plant. And when this strategic asset is added to your base of operations, select an aspect. Once per turning point, you can use an aspect technique from the keyword that you've already used. So basically, you can double down on a single one. There's a couple really useful ones to do twice, like to shoot twice at people within 2 of each other. Or the charge and then continue your charge move to fight again. Craft Road Ranger, in the scouting step, after resolving your selection, just do a second one. It can be any of the ones that are still available. And then Meditation Chamber, in the update data slate step of the Blades of Khaine, operative on your data slate that was rested for the turn, it can either gain an XP or remove any number of its battle honors and redetermine them, but you can't change its specialism. So you can relearn battle honors or gain an XP if you didn't take part in a game, if you have the Meditation Chamber. Very cool strategic assets for these guys. And then your requisitions, Recovered Spirit Stone. Purchase this requisition after a game in which a Blades of Khaine operative of veteran rank or higher was killed. Multiply the number of ranks the operative had by 2. Then distribute that much experience points amongst the Blades of Khaine operatives in your data slate. They basically commune with the Spirit Stone. Cast the Runes. Purchase this requisition when your kill team is assigned to a spec op. Change 1 tac op requirement to a tac op of your choice. This lasts for your kill team until the spec op is completed or aborted. And then finally, the Path Diverging. This one's really interesting. Purchase this requisition before or after a game. Remove 1 Blades of Khaine operative from your data slate, and then add a Blade of Khaine Exarch operative of the same aspect, or a Blades of Khaine operative with a different aspect keyword. So basically, if you have someone who's experienced in your team, spend a requisition point, they either become the commensurate aspect warrior Exarch, because you only get 1 Exarch when you first build your team in a Spec Ops campaign, but they'll start leveled. They'll start whatever battle level they were when you recruit them, rounded down to the nearest like increment of 5, basically. Or they can just change. You can have a Dire Avenger become a Banshee, or you can have a Banshee become a Striking Scorpion. They can decide they're going to go down a different path. That's very cool. I think that's a really neat ability. And then your different spec ops, you can go on like the courses of El Ethra, which is complete 5 games with Aspect Warfare, Master Techniques, and or Martial Harmony tac op. Being successful, and then Serpentine Route, complete 5 games and score victory points from 5 different non-faction tac ops. And then we get our Killzone rules. So there's just 2 pieces of real like interesting terrain in here. It's just gantries and the Pharatonic Furnace. So the way they work is to obscure line. You can't shoot under the shadow of a gantry at something because it's obscured. You can't see it basically because of all the stuff dripping off it or all the smog coming off of it. And because of the climbable nature of these things, you don't have to start a climb within 1 of the feet or of the legs. You just have to start within 1 horizontally of any part of the platform you're going to end on, which is very handy for getting up and down on them. Vice versa, the Pharatonic Furnace, you just have to start within 1 of the lip of that platform and then do your climb. Then we got our Killzone Salvation rig apparatus. We got light and traversable, heavy and traversable, heavy and traversable, heavy and traversable, and heavy and traversable. And these all go up top, usually on top of the platforms to give you some cover when you're fighting. And then the most important thing is the hazardous areas. This is all the water features on this map. Basically, if you're on the kill team floor, the Killzone floor, and you're drawing line of sight through more than 2 inches of this, all of the waves and mist and stuff coming off of it blocks your line of sight and you're obscured. So it means that when you're on the bottom and you can see through the legs of all the gantries, you can't actually see through the water. There are certain things like the sniper can get rid of obscured by focusing, and the tracker can as well. He can give somebody else a focusing by using his like 1 AP ability, but that's about it that can see through it. And then vice versa, if you're standing on top of a platform, if you're elevated from a vantage point and you're looking underneath one of the gantries, you can't see underneath it because of the shadow it creates. And that's kind of it. And then we have our campaign mission. Now, I'm probably not going to run this here at the studio, not because I don't think it's neat, because it doesn't really fit how we record. It's a 3 to 6 player campaign, and the idea is that you're going to have assets on the table and then your kill team, and you're going to secretly move up and down this map. Everybody starts in a secret location along the bottom here. Either A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, or A7. So I guess you'd have 7 players, but I think it recommends 3 to 6. And then you make, if you don't end adjacent or move through something that has a hazard token in it, which would be randomly distributed, you can move 2 squares. Otherwise, you move 1 square per campaign, and then you get paired up to play either the nearest person to you on the Killzone map, or the like just someone else in the campaign. Play your games, and you go through a 4-step process where you do the movement, have a battle, do your action phase. So if you take any campaign actions, you resolve them. And then the hazards phase, there's random hazards on the table that you have to roll to see what they are. So it could be a predator, D3 operatives gain a battle star, and your next game, D3 operatives in your roster cannot be selected for deployment. If you go through one and there's a riot on the rig, remove up to D6 worth of equipment from your stash. And your next game, you cannot select 2D6 worth of equipment. So like your stuff gets stolen. Falling debris from the crashed Galadark. In your next campaign movement phase, you can only move your kill team to an adjacent location. And the match play effect in your next game, if you never have the initiative, like period. In a multiplayer game, you cannot be of a higher player order. So just crazy stuff like that. And your campaign actions are things like securing the intelligence if there's some in the zone that you're in, capture intelligence, steal intelligence if you're fighting somebody that has some already, or scouting ahead to move again. And then prepare. You can also add CPs to your CP pool. And then you get 9 bespoke for the Killzone operations that you can do. And we played the first 2 already. We played Secure Machinery and Loot the Rig. And we're going to be on to capture the high point. I'm going to hopefully get to play Chase's Chaos Cult with my Marines coming up relatively soon. And that's it. Kill Team Salvation. So what do I think about this box? I'm back and forth on these. Honestly, I really liked the one they did for Warcry, because it used the Kill Team core terrain set and augmented it with another terrain piece. I think, so here's what I think, is if the next few small boxes from Kill Team Salvation all build on the Beta Decima box set of terrain and don't throw in a new terrain set, like if they give me something else cool to put on that rig, I think I like this. If not, I'm not so big on it. Because what was really cool about the Warcry one was a new piece of terrain to add to your core box set, which they kind of started in Nightmare Quest because you just needed the Ziggurat basically, and everything else was from the 3rd edition 2-player starter set. That feels like the right way to make these boxes. Have like a core product and have it be associated with it. But because they've gone from Orc terrain in Octarius to the Galadark terrain to now this rig, it's a big ask to keep getting those over and over again to kind of like follow the narrative of what's going on with the Galadark. The Galadark one was fine because even though you got the Galadark terrain over and over again, you didn't really need it. You didn't need multiple sets of that terrain really. And you could kind of get away with the first set that you painted. I don't think I painted the subsequent ones. I just painted the extra gizmos that came in the Galadark boxes and we played through the campaign. So if this does that, I think this is a cool prospect because I really like the Beta Decima rig terrain. I think it's really cool. Adding to that collection, like the next 2-player box that comes out for this, if it takes place in the same location, which it tends to for the rest of the season, if this is like the season opener, then I think that's really cool. The small box itself is great. Let me say, I cannot be more excited enough about the data slate cards, the tokens, and the general like accessory pod that came in the Salvation box. The Kill Team themselves, the models are great. The scouts are way better than the old plastic scouts. The plastic scouts were fine. They weren't as good as the metal Jez Goodwin scouts, but that's like, you can't go from Jez Goodwin to anything else and expect it to be quite as good. But the new Striking Scorpions are tremendous. And I think the new scouts are really cool. They come with lots of accessories and you get some cool like specializers in there too. What I'm more excited about is the prospect that the next couple boxes like this I don't have to paint the rig terrain again. I just get to be excited about a new kill team, paint a new kill team, paint a couple of like little accessory terrain pieces like the rig stuff that was in here, and then go and have another adventure and watch the story move forward. So I'm hoping that's what this is, and they're kind of like backing into it, you know, like backpedaling into it, as opposed to what they did with, they didn't have a thing like Galadark for Warcry, so they can just make these smaller boxes now that don't require a bunch of additional terrain. So right now, if I was to rank this Kill Team Salvation box against the Warcry one, the Hunters and Prey Warcry box is better because it looks like that was always the plan, whereas we have a really neat like venture to the Galadark in Kill Team, but it kind of derailed like the seamlessness with which, if you got into this edition of Kill Team, you would get to enjoy these smaller boxes later on. So yeah, you can watch my review today of the Beta Decima like Killzone box. I do like the terrain. It's super, I like it for reasons that it's simple, it's modular. I'm gonna use it for Necromunda. It's really durable and easy to build. And it looks sharp, and I matched, and I'd like bang on matched the paint scheme in a really easy way with 2 rattle cans, which made me happy too. So that made me feel like that made me happy. And I think that if that's the way, if the next couple of these boxes are just that Killzone terrain again, plus a cool thing to add on to it, then they're back on track basically for Kill Team. It was getting top heavy with the Galadark after Galadark after Galadark thing. And I think that then you can just have these smaller box sizes basically be the way. And I do think the value of the components in those small box sets is really high now that we're getting things like the cards. Now that they're caught up to Warcry. Yeah. So, I mean, I still have my complaints, my criticisms of this edition of Kill Team, like measurement being a nightmare, like just measurement's stupid. All the movement rules are stupid. But like, as far as the rest of it goes, it feels like it's getting back on pace and on track with how well they're doing with Warcry. And because the models and the setting are so cool, I'm excited to see where that goes. So I'm going to give this 3 out of 5 for potential, and hopefully we get to a 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5. If the next couple box sets like this follow what I'm hoping is the future trend, which is just small box add-ons for this initial like set, because then you can see someone onboarding to Kill Team with this pair of box sets, Salvation and the Beta Decima box, and enjoying the rest of the season as we go forward. As the Galfall happens, the Galadark is now crashed all over this rig planet, and the Kill Teams are all like fighting over the ruins. So there it is, my review of Kill Team Salvation. You can also check out my Work in Progress Wednesday, I think next week, putting the scouts together and the first game in the Spec Ops campaign. As I play through with the scouts, I play a couple games against the Blades of Khaine, and then hopefully we're gonna get Chase in here to play some games with his Chaos Cult, and we'll keep running through the Spec Ops missions from here until we get them all done, and then the next box comes out and we try it again. So big thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Ash. Have a great night.